Hi, I want to take you back to the late 1800s, and the world of photography then was very different to today. The only people taking photographs are either very wealthy amateurs or professionals, and the reason is that the cameras are huge physically, they're very expensive, and the process of getting a film into the camera, getting it out again and get it processed is very difficult and also very expensive. So the concept of an ordinary guy picking up a camera, taking a snapshot and seeing his photographs quickly is unheard of. And of course all that changes in 1900 when Kodak introduced the Brownie camera. For $1 you get a little box, you can buy a film from Kodak, put it through the camera, send it to Kodak, get your snaps back. The world of photography changes forever. So the Brownie itself has a history, and the history starts in 1892. And another company called the Boston Camera Company produced a camera that looks very like this, and it's called the Bullseye. And it's called the Bullseye because on the back of the camera there's a circle, and it's red and it's see-through, and it enables you to see the numbers on the film as you wind it through to make sure you wound it the correct distance and you see how many exposures you've taken. Now, George Eastman of Kodak saw this and really liked the idea. Unfortunately, it was patented. So what did George do? Yeah, he bought the company. He bought the Boston Camera Company. And in 1895, he released this. He had a challenge. What's he going to call it? There was the Boston Camera Company Bullseye, so he called this the Kodak Bullseye, which is not very imaginative, George, but never mind. So the Bullseye camera from Kodak, 1896. This cost $8. It's made of wood rather than the cardboard, I think, that the Brownie was made of. So it still wasn't cheap camera territory, but it was the precursor of the Brownie itself. So let me show you a little bit more about the camera. And then if I lift this out, pull out this handle here, and then lift. Here it is. It's very attractive. It's wood, it's brass. The functions on the front are all made of brass. It's a pretty thing. And you probably can't read this, but inside it says number 2 Bullseye 96 edition. So, well, 96 model. So this is the 1896, it went 95, 96, 98, and then it went to different model versions. So anyway, this is 1896. On the bottom of the camera you have a tripod mount. Good luck finding a bolt that fits that nowadays. And this is the ratchet for the film wind-on. On the top of the camera, as well as the wind-on, you've got the shutter. And it's just operate the shutter again. And you can see it's just a piece of wire on the front of the camera. About 1/50th of a second, I'm led to believe, but of course, being so old, it could be anything nowadays. If I want to put the camera into bulb mode, which means the shutter will stay open until I operate it again, I pull this lever here next to the shutter and then move the shutter, and the shutter is now open. And that gives me a chance to show you what this other lever does. This is the aperture lever, and I've got one, I don't know if you can see this, but there's 1, 2, 3 different apertures available. The smallest one is about f/22, I believe. So you really have to, if you're going to shoot with this camera, you've got to guess and see what comes out. But very simple for someone in 1895 to use. Set the aperture, choose your shutter, and away you go. 1895 was a significant year, not just for the introduction of the Kodak Bullseye, but also because of this. This was the world's first commercial roll film. Prior to 1895, you had to, if you had a Kodak camera, you had to send the whole camera off to Kodak, and they would take the film out and put a new one in for you, and then send you back with your photos. Or if you were an amateur with other cameras, you had to arrange the whole thing yourself. But in 1895 became this. This is Kodak 101 film. It's got 12 exposures on a 3.5 inch or 9 centimeter size. And you could put this into your camera, roll it to the end, and then take it out of the camera and send it to Kodak. So this was a significant improvement, and of course it formed the basis of photography for almost a century before we moved into digital. It actually says on the box, number 2 Bullseye Kodak, so it's the film for this camera. And if we open it up, inside the instructions for developing, if you're going to do it yourself, and the film which is still sitting inside its original foil. Now it would be very tempting to take this film and put it through this camera. Unfortunately, if I read the box, it says developed before 1st of July 1918. So the First World War ended, as did the applicability of this film. So it's 100 years out of date. There'll be no chemicals left on it, and if I put it in the camera, I wouldn't get anything. But still, it's a nice bit of history, and it's a good thing to keep with the camera as a collection. I've got a few old cameras, and I like to shoot them. I don't just collect them, I like to shoot with them. This one, for example, is a 1931 Leica 1, and I can take 35mm film, stick it in it, and go out and shoot it easily. It's fun to shoot with. And I really would like to shoot with this. But as I said, this film has been expired for 100 years, plus it's a collector's item, so I don't really want to process it, I want to keep it. And so I'm rather stuck. Now the ideal would be to put some 120 film through it. That's the next closest size I can get easily commercially to put inside this camera, but of course there's no way of fitting it in. It doesn't fit on that roll. But now it does. I bought these from a company called Holger Mods, and I'll put the link on below the video. And this enables me to fit 120 film into here and end up with the same overall dimensions as 101 film. So I can shoot 120 in here. And in a separate video I will share my experiences of setting up the camera to use this film, and we'll see what sort of shots. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed the overview of the Kodak Bullseye 1895-1896. I'll see you next time. Bye! Fuck me, I'm hot.